Hi, this is Roger in Finland, and today we're going to talk about top handles. Why I don't use them, but maybe you should. And for the impatient ones, top handles, meaning things like this one, are excellent and very useful filmmaking tools, but I wouldn't recommend it if you have a specific injury, and that's called the Quervain syndrome. But before getting into some more details, two disclaimers. The first one is that I'm not a cinematographer or a filmmaker, so I just make videos for YouTube, and I don't think I'm even a YouTuber, so take that for what it is. And the second one is that I am not a medical professional, not a doctor, not a physiotherapist, or anything of the kind. So I will not be answering any questions about like diagnosis or what kind of injuries you might have, but I have used cameras, I have made a few and quite a few videos, I have used top handles, and I have had this specific injury, the Quervain syndrome, so I'm just going to be sharing my personal experience. So first, what a top handle is, we're talking about these handles that are mounted on top of the camera. They offer a place to hold it that actually goes well with gravity, and it's a good tool for stabilizing a certain type of shots. It allows you to do, again, different types of shots, so you might be holding this and being really low on the ground and still having a good holding point. And then it's also possible to mount stuff on them. This particular one is a very, very minimal one, but there's bigger handles that have like a lot more of mounting points and cold shoe mounts and whatnot. People do mount sometimes the monitors straight into the handle, etc., depending on what kind of cage situation you might have. But that's what a top handle is. And if you want to learn how to actually use that properly for cinematic purposes, I'm going to point you to the pros instead of trying to explain it myself, since I am not a pro. So I would recommend checking this video from Maki, which is a really, really good one. And then in a very different style, but another excellent video talking about top handles, you could check Mark Bone's videos. And I'm going to put the links to those people's channels down below in the small chance that you stumble upon my channel and you don't know about them. So please go check them out. Those are professionals talking about how to use top handles. But then if these top handles are a good filmmaking tool, then why don't I use it? Well, the thing is, to me, using a top handle in the way that they are mostly used, it's painful, and I'm worried to get back to an injury that I've had. So now I want to just briefly talk about what this injury is and why it's not really compatible with top handle usage. So this injury is called the Quervain syndrome, which is the guy that kind of discovered it or named it, and it's an inflammation or hardening of the sheath around the tendons in this part of the wrist. So here we have some tendons that bound muscle and bone together, and they go around the sheath. So you can imagine kind of a tube, and then the tendon is inside. I'm not gonna do any movements because I don't want to get the video demonetized, but the tendon will move within that sheath. If this thing gets inflamed, what it does is actually presses the tendon and makes it difficult to move inside it, and then that's why it's painful. And this injury is especially painful doing a movement also known as pouring water. So you imagine holding a water jug and then pouring the water. You can see that now this part of the wrist is in tension, and then the tendons are kind of straightened, or pulled, whatever you want to call it. And then if that sheath is inflamed or hardened, then that's the painful bit. And that's the issue with the top handles, because when filming, that's the position that you have actually. So you hold the camera like this, and if you're going to go to low angles, then you can see what's going to happen. I'm holding it from the bottom, so I don't have any pain on this wrist, which is the injured one, but that's the issue. And you can see in this couple of images of actual professionals using top handles for professional purposes, that's the position that the hand goes into. By the way, I'm also going to post links down below to the YouTube channels and Instagram profiles of the two people that I just showed here. So that's Armando Ferreira and Rachel White from Right Visuals. Excellent content both in YouTube and Instagram, so go also check them out. And a good question for me would be, well, if you don't use the top handle to get into those angles, like the low angles and whatnot, then what are you using? For me, the best would be an iteration of this. So this is quite okay in this angle, because now you can see that my hand is in the anatomical position, which is somewhere like this, where almost nothing is in tension. The problem is that if this is going to go into a really, really low angle, then the wrist is going to start doing great things. So for me, I think the best option would be one of these handles that can actually rotate. And there are some from small rig that mount through an ARRI rosette, and then they move. And I believe that in cameras that have the handles integrated, like the let's say Sony FX6, FX9 and that type of cameras, they already have a very easy mechanism to rotate those handles. So to me, that would be the best place to have my right hand holding the camera handheld in whatever angle it is, because then I can have my hand always in a position that is comfortable and it's not painful to any of the injuries that I have had. Then about the injury itself, so I'm not making this up, so I had this diagnosed by like a proper doctor, and usually what it is just an inflammation and with some painkillers and then some resting. So you have like a protection that keeps the hand in this position and in this angle, so nothing is in tension, and after some days or some weeks it goes away. If it doesn't go away, it might be because the thing is not just inflamed, but it's a bit hardened. So then they have injections of cortisone, at least that's what they did here in Northern Europe. And usually after the first injection, the pain goes away and the injury goes away. If not, then they try to give a second injection after some weeks. And then for most people, these 3 steps have solved the problem. Then if you're like me, the problem is not solved and then it requires surgery. All of this is of course done always through the doctors. They are the ones that know what they do. I will not be helping anyone to diagnose their self-injuries or to self-diagnose the injuries or recommend, please get surgery or please don't, or get the cortisone shot. I have no idea. If you have any injuries, please go and consult the professionals. But that's what the end result here. We tried the immobilizing and painkillers, we tried the cortisone shots, none of it worked, so we had the surgery. I had these in 2014 done, and so far it's been good. Sometimes depending on the movements, I can still feel that there's some pain coming there. So what I do now is basically be really careful what kind of movements do I do with that particular wrist. So hence me not using the top handles for filmmaking. And if you're wondering why then do I have this top handle mounted here, or do I still use top handles at all? I use them to carry things around and move stuff. If you think about this setup, which I'm gonna have a video soon coming talking about it, holding it from here, it's okay because it's a small setup, but here I use the top handle to carry the camera, and well, now you can't see it because it's down, but if it's down, the wrist is in an okay position, and then this is easy then to go and mount it to a tripod or leave it on a table, but basically it's an excellent way for me to transport and move around. So yes, I still use top handles for that specific purpose, but not for filmmaking or actually moving the camera while I'm filming. So hopefully this clarifies a bit. Why do I still use top handles? Why don't I use them for filmmaking, and my particular case of this particular injury on this particular wrist. So do you use top handles? Have you used them before? Do you keep on using them? What are your favorite setups with top handles? And finally, how are your wrists? But hopefully you liked this video and there was something useful in it for you. If you did like it, please click like and subscribe, and we're gonna see you soon for some more content.